Welcome! In this video, we will discuss forecasting and demand planning. Specifically, we will discuss the following course objectives: being able to identify demand management concepts and techniques to structured problems in order to derive meaningful solutions. More specifically, this video will discuss the accuracy of forecasting and types of qualitative and quantitative forecasting techniques. Forecasting, in its simplest definition, is the process of projecting values of one or more variables into the future. For example, doing this with consumer demand and projecting that demand into the future. There are various reasons why we teach forecasting in this course and why organizations find it important. First of all, forecasting is rarely perfect and for the most part is completely inaccurate. While we still don't have a perfect method for forecasting future demand, there are various ways for organizations to get demand as accurate as possible. Organizations invest a lot of resources in just trying to get forecasts as accurate as possible. This is primarily due to a myriad of problems that bad forecasts can cause, including poor inventory and staffing decisions, part shortages, inadequate customer service due to poor fill rates, and customer complaints that eventually lead to a loss in revenue. Often, the accuracy of the forecast depends on forecasting time horizons. In general, there are three different forecast time horizons. First, there are short-range time horizons. For example, forecasting customer demand within a period of 0 to 3 months. Short-range forecasting time horizons tend to be more accurate and are more used for planning, purchasing, job scheduling, workforce levels, and job assignments. There are also medium-range time horizons, including somewhere between 3 months to 3 years. These forecasts are used in sales planning, production planning, and cash budgeting. Finally, there are long-range time horizons, which are greater than 3 years. These forecasts are used for facility locations and expansion, capital expenditures, and research and development. In this course, we will be discussing two different classes of forecasting methods, qualitative and quantitative. Quantitative forecasting, as we will discuss, looks more into statistics and past trends to make predictions, versus qualitative analysis, which relies on more managerial or judgmental opinion. There are 4 types of qualitative forecasting techniques that we will discuss in this course. First is jury of executive opinion. This uses statistical models with a group of high-level experts or managers in order to arrive at an estimate of demand. Second is the Delphi method. This is based on the results of a questionnaire sent to a panel of experts. Several rounds of questionnaires are sent out, and the anonymous responses are aggregated and shared with the group after each round. The experts are allowed to adjust their answers in subsequent rounds. Eventually, the forecast is derived through consensus. Third is the Salesforce composite, where each salesperson estimates their own sales in the region, and they are reviewed to ensure they are realistic. They are then combined and compiled on district and national levels. Finally is the Consumer Market Survey, which solicits input from customers and potential customers regarding future purchasing intentions. As with both types of forecasting, there are both strengths and weaknesses. One of the major strengths to qualitative forecasting techniques is that it incorporates inside information by various individuals from top-level executives to the expansive insight of the actual sales force. Unlike quantitative forecasting, which bases future data on past data, qualitative forecasting is useful when future demand is expected to be different from the past. That being said, all individuals have opinions and biases that may skew the accuracy of the forecast. Salespeople, for example, can both over and underestimate demand, as can top-level executives. In this class, we will also discuss 2 quantitative forecasting techniques, including time series and associative models. Time series models assume that the future demand is a function of the past demand. Associative models incorporate variables or factors that influence the forecasts of the future. First, let's discuss time series. Recall that time series models assume that future demand is a function of the past, so we see basic patterns. There are several of these patterns that we'll discuss now. The first is a trend pattern, which is a gradual decrease or increase in the overall movement of the data. Seasonal is a pattern that repeats itself in a period of days, months, or quarters. Cyclical is similar, but is more spread out over time. For example, instead of a pattern that repeats itself in a period of days, it often repeats itself after several years. Random is a blip of data that are caused by unusual environmental circumstances. Random data cannot be predicted very accurately as of yet. There are also different types of time series models. First is the naive method. This method assumes demand in the next period is the same as this period. Although this method seems rather simplistic, and for a lack of a better word, naive, it can be accurate when doing short-term forecasting. In addition, it does not require a large amount of effort and resources expended on computing using more complicated procedures. Second is the simple mean. This is exactly what it says. It is calculating the mean or average of all available data. Finally is the moving average. This includes calculating the average values over a set period of time. For example, only taking into account the last 3 months. Each new data point drops the oldest data point. This is used when older data is less indicative of current data. While time series models assume future demand is a function of past demand, associative models explore actual variables that influence forecasts into the future. For example, regression analysis. A more specific example would be inches of rain predicting the sales of umbrellas, or the number of celebrity endorsements predicting the sales of shoes. As with qualitative models, there are various strengths and weaknesses with quantitative models as well. First of all, quantitative models usually are a reflection and extrapolation of previous demand. Thus, there's very little respondent bias that comes into play. Additionally, it can also be reflective of many past demand data points indicating different time series patterns and thus making it easier to see a larger picture. As for weaknesses, quantitative forecasting methods are subject to problems occurring when the data is incorrect or insufficient. Additionally, necessary data isn't always available, causing problems with availability and most likely the accuracy of the forecast. As I've stated previously, while forecasting is rarely, if ever, perfect, it is very important in inventory management. As we will discuss later on, a lack of forecast accuracy can cause substantial problems in either service level or getting the product to the consumer on time, or inventory buildup, causing substantial waste and high inventory holding costs for organizations. Thus, our goal is to be as accurate as possible. In order to accomplish this, many organizations use both qualitative and quantitative methods in order to leverage their benefits and reduce the problems associated with each. Congratulations, you have finished this video. Continue on in the lesson to learn more about quantitative techniques to forecasting.